Hello and welcome to TechSparks 2020. I hope you're networking, starting up, and making sure that your ideas are getting funded by talking to a lot of VCs. Today, TechSparks 2020 is India's most influential entrepreneurship and tech conference. I'm Vishal Krishna, your business editor at Your Story, and it is my pleasure to host today's session in association with Lenovo and Intel on reimagining technology to enable remote working in India. This is an exclusive invite-only panel for small enterprises to understand, discuss, and deliberate upon emerging tech trends in tech adoption and the opportunities it brings along with the challenges. With remote working models still in place for the foreseeable future, device management, security maintenance, keeping employees connected, making them productive, of course, avoiding costly downtime, etc., become focal challenges in the pandemic. And these are challenges that small businesses are facing, and therefore they need innovative tech solutions. We are also witnessing a large number of small businesses pivoting to online models from offline, and that comes with its own set of challenges and concerns, security being most of it. To discuss further on the different technologies that small businesses can leverage to enable more efficient remote working, we have with us leaders and founders of key SMB players in the ecosystem. Joining them will be Ashish Sikka, Director, Channel and SMB Lenovo India. Ashish has 14 years of experience, of course, in leadership positions across functions at Lenovo. In his current role at Lenovo, Ashish is responsible for driving profitable growth for Lenovo in the SMB segment. He focuses on customer-centric solutions as well as managing an extensive product portfolio that includes laptops, desktops, workstations, tablets under SMB. We also have George Chacko with us, who leads Intel's sales team, supporting Lenovo's client business for APJ and data-centric businesses for APJ, EMEA, and LAR. George has been with Intel for close to 15 years. He has vast experience in product and brand research and is launching new technology products. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you? George, Ashish, thanks for putting this panel together. It's lovely. How are you, Ashish?
Absolutely fantastic, Vishal, and great to join everyone and great to see everyone here. Totally agree with you. TechSparks is something which now everyone looks forward to, and hope we have a great discussion today.
Yeah, we are going to have a great discussion because the topic itself is reimagining technology to enable remote working in India. George, this would have never happened. We're all catching up remotely. How are you?
Good. And likewise, I'm honored and, feeling humble to be here among such a wonderful set of people and talking. This is near and dear to us. This year has been like, nothing else. And so to have this great platform and to talk about and to kind of exchange ideas is like something I'm really looking forward to. So thank you.
Yeah, it's fantastic for me because it's a good mix of technology, SMBs, digital, and you also have manufacturing companies also, right? So it'll be fantastic to know their point of view. Guys, I'm going to start with Deep of Aldor Multi-Products. Deep, how are you? Can you give us a little introduction about yourselves, and can you tell us about how the COVID has affected the company and how you've reacted to these times?
Yeah, hi, thanks Vishal, and hi to everyone on the panel. Uh, yeah, so Adol Multi Products is a manufacturing company. We manufacture personal care and skincare products based out of a factory we run in Pondicherry. We do third-party work for various brands, right from Himalayas to Wipro to TTK, across different product categories in the personal care segment, including shower gels, lotions, etc. Uh, in terms of and then we also have another company which is an e-commerce based company which is a curator of clean beauty products. It's called Sublime Life, and we have over 60 brands of clean beauty brands which we curate and we sell through DTC and customers directly. What's interesting is how both those businesses are very different and how COVID has impacted them in very different ways. So in terms of actual product, manufacturing capability, and one of our big product lines actually has been hand sanitizers. So given what broke out, we were actually very, I would say, chased for demand, which was a good sign. Uh, what was challenging is small things like how do you navigate your team while working from home. Normally I would be on the ground and my team would be on the ground and go up and down to the factories every 2 weeks. We had to continue full production at double shifts and triple shifts, but kind of make sure social distancing happened. But I would say technology for the manufacturing business, I think the big change was, it was very interesting to see uh, small things like how customers who usually, whether it's whoever, the Unilevers, the Himalayas of the world, who normally would insist on audits, who would go personally to factories, do their quality checks, audits, would do it all over video and remote control in a way, right?
Yes.
That was just the most basic thing, and beyond that, there was a whole bunch of uh, other protocols which were all done over calls and Zooms and various measures. Yeah. So and my team, of course, managing the team remotely is a whole new challenge. Yeah. So,
That's fantastically said. Yasha's Everpet, it's a D2C brand too. Every one of us is working remotely. You are sourcing your product also remotely. I'm sure you wouldn't go to the factories. Can you tell us a little bit about Everpet, please?
Yeah, sure. So Everpret is essentially a work accessories brand for working women. So we design products specifically designed for women that provide a great balance between work and sort of personal life, right? So our first product, our flagship tote, was an idea to marry style and functionality. So women are not carrying black nylon backpacks to work, but they look a lot more stylish while carrying a nice tote that contains their laptop, chargers, phone, makeup, etc., in a more organized way. So we started in mid 2018. We've gotten a great demand. We've built a great sort of brand presence. And yeah, interestingly, something to share with you guys is that we didn't really see a dip in demand, even though most people are working from home. So apart from the 2-month lockdown period where we had pretty much zero revenues, once we came back, we saw sales back up to 80-85% of pre-COVID levels, which was great for us. But the largest challenge we faced is the supply chain, because we sort of import products from outside of India, and that has been a challenge because the logistics sort of industry has been hit in terms of freight. There's not enough demand, so the timelines have gone up. There's not enough timelines, as well as the prices have gone up. So that's been a challenge that we're facing. So yeah, but apart from that, I think it's been fairly okay for us.
Okay.
Apart from the lockdown period. Surprisingly, so now we're working on more on new products that sort of seamlessly balance between work and life again, given that the future will be sort of work from home too.
Yeah, that's well said again. Siddharth, I mean, in terms of agronic foods, you're into the agri supply chain. How have things changed for you over the last 6 months? And how have you handled the pandemic? And a little bit about the company also, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Siddharth, and I represent Agronic Food. We are based out of Jodhpur. We essentially deal in organic products. So the basic grocery is what we deal in. We source directly from the farmers, which are situated in different parts of the countries. As of now, we work with closely about 40,000 farmers and process these food here in Jodhpur and export to about 20 odd countries. So there has been a sudden shift in terms of the demand, especially during COVID, and it's going on. The reason being immunity, and suddenly people have understood the whole idea of healthy food and why it's important. So though it's an unfortunate event, but as COVID, but it has actually resulted in, I think, a great growth for the entire industry. From a push factor, it has converted into a pull factor, wherein we don't really have to push the product, and we're getting demand from very, very small nations now. So it's no more the dependency on the developed countries like America and Europe, but we have seen demand from smaller nations, even a nation like Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives.
Okay.
So this has actually resulted in a big market extension for us. The challenge has been sourcing, because the farms are located in very, very small area, grassroots level, and communication has been a challenge before. But thankfully, everyone, the team especially, worked in a very collaborative manner. So the changes what we wanted to do earlier couldn't happen, but suddenly out of no option, we had to switch to a more collaborative way of working, and that kind of worked for us. So yes, and some more technology which we kind of adopted in the last few months made it possible for us to work in a remote environment and actually double our production capacity. So I think the way it is going, we will see more of technology usage in our work.
What I like is the positivity that all you brands are bringing in. That's amazing. So moving on to Pankaj, who's joined us. Pankaj is, by the way, the founder of Apis Honey. How are you, Pankaj? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you guys? I hope everyone is doing well.
Yeah, well, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Please accept my apologies for joining late. I was just stuck somewhere.
Don't worry, we're all live, so no problem. Don't accept. We have accepted, not only accepted your apologies, but you are here and we want you to tell good things about what's happening in India and your company. So tell us, what is the Apis Honey all about? And where are you selling this? Is it a D2C, and how have you handled during the COVID, and did your distribution model change?
Yeah, so Apis historically has been a B2B company till 2015-16. And after that, we have started our FMCG brands, and we are still a young company in FMCG space. So it's hardly 4 years what we have been operating. But yes, as a manufacturing firm, we are a 2-decade-old firm. And the core areas where we operate into, or the product categories where we are focused, are honey, dates, jam, pickles, and ginger garlic paste.
Okay.
So of course, COVID was something which we never foresee anything coming like COVID.
Correct.
So it affected us very badly in terms of the initial first 10-15 days was bad. But of course, then the recovery and the whole process of working remotely, because for a company like us, which has never, where there is no concept of work from home, it is very difficult to adapt and implement such things so quickly. But with the help of technology, with all these Zoom and other platforms, IP cameras, we try to cope up. And yes, though COVID is bad for overall economy, but it has helped all food companies. Typically, we are operating in food space. So because of a lot of focus, as Siddharth was rightly saying, because there is a huge amount of pull factor working for the brand, where people are consuming more honey, more dates, and other or healthy products. Yeah, so it helped us in terms of revenues. But of course, there were also challenges because of COVID. So because of social distancing norms and other issues, other restrictions put down by the government authorities, it was very difficult to operate the factories. We have been coping up with by adapting whatever best we could do in that short time, using thermal scanners, using IP cameras. So typically IP cameras helped us wherever we had a third-party manufacturing, because my quality team cannot go there and supervise the whole process of manufacturing, and we cannot stop manufacturing process. So we helped through the help of all these IP cameras and other techs, whatever tech we could afford in this short time, we have tried to cope up, and it has been fantastic in terms of revenue and growth.
Very good. Good to know things are back 90% to pre-COVID levels, right? Gaurang, I could see a smile on your face because your product is a communication and collaboration platform, right? Talk a little bit about Flock. What's happened in the pandemic for you, quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was one of those moments, the pandemic for us, where, you look left, you look right, and then you're like, wait, this is our, this is where we're in a position to be actually useful and sort of help our customers and so on and so forth. So even ignoring sort of all of the other things around revenue and around the fact that the product itself is useful for everybody. So just for context, just to kind of share with everybody, Flock is a workplace products company. We make two products, Flock and Titan, and Flock is basically a tool which lets you collaborate with anybody within your company instantly, right? So you have installed on everybody's devices, and you can reach anybody in the company. You can video conference and so on and so forth. And so what for COVID for us is in many ways also a test of many proportions, right? You've got, for one, the test on infrastructure, right? So if suddenly 1,000% spike on sort of usage, on people adopting the platform, trying it out, seeing can this work for us, all of that stuff. But on top of that, there was so many of these challenges that we've never as a species really faced before. So be it sort of these micro conversations that you have at work, right? Like when you go to work and you wave to somebody and you say hi, right? Like all of that is suddenly absent. And so for us as innovators in this space as well, right, we a lot of these problems are things that we're thinking about really actively, and we are saying, okay, how is it that we can to the best of our abilities, kind of make it feel normal to work from home, make it feel normal to kind of work remotely and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those times where that's what we're trying to do, be as useful to sort of everybody, including the people in this room, in enabling the world, everybody to kind of work remotely.
Okay, great. Logesh, Effitrack works with small businesses. Earlier you were telling me that you provide a lot of tools, at least 30 SaaS tools to them. Tell us quickly about Effitrack. How is the market? I mean, did you see a lot of digital adoption with your SMBs that you serve?
Yeah. Hi, Vishal. Post-COVID, we are seeing a lot of traction towards technology adaptation among SMEs. We have also launched a SME package post-COVID, which starts from $156 per month for a 3-user license. We see a very positive impact. We had done 250 signups in the span of 40 days. Moreover, people are moving towards running the business digitally. So as other speakers were mentioning, so people cannot access, they cannot visit the factories, they cannot go and say, they need to leverage the IP cameras and all that stuff. Similarly, like they need an information solution in place to gather information and act on those information. So solutions like Effitrack, which is a single solution with 30 models tightly coupled and integrated, using which they can leverage this information and take timely decisions. So that's where we are now, and we cater to 14 industries. And the beauty of Effitrack is like we have 600 plus business rules. So using these rules, people can customize the solution for their needs.
Okay, fantastic. Hiren, Vertros, being a tech company, what's changed for you the last 6 months?
Okay, so Vertos is a programmatic advertising and a media buying platform. COVID situation has turned into all different kind of thing. As what Gaurang mentioned, our species never experienced this kind of situation. When we never thought of, we thought that either it will go slow or it will go high on that way, but we never stop completely. But it has always has its own advantage as well. Definitely on advertising side, we also had the similar situation what like every business has had, that everyone has stopped spending. But this particular time has given us a lot of time to educate our customer and our people on what exactly is required. See, the problem is that Indian SMBs or Indian SMEs, we all are running every day. Okay, we really have a very, very thin difference between expense and the investment. And specifically when it comes to marketing, we call it as an expense, not the investment of brand investment.
Correct.
This particular time has really given us a good opportunity to us to explain to the brands and people that, what exactly is this investment called marketing is. Advertising is in digital side specifically, because digital is something which they have really, now it's in their blood. Now. Okay, so this 6 months has given them a different, another medicine called digital as a part of their actual medicine, which everyone is taking right now. So this is, both the sides. For us also, it has worked altogether in a different way than what we expected. If I talk about, when we stopped, when we started work from home, like I think 18th of March, we decided to start from work from home. And from 18th of March till 30th, we were just thinking like, what is going to happen? What to do? And like 15 days, we were in a dilemma, like, what next? And then after 15 days, we realized, okay, this is something new. And we really need to think a different direction than what we used to do earlier. And that has changed everything.
Good.
From the April, the whole approach has changed.
You've got a whole bunch of SMEs here that you can pitch to for digital advertising later on. And
Sure.
I'm sure you network with them, okay? Mandar, what does Sarvatra do? And how has technology changed for you? Or what kind of adoption have you gone through the last 6 months?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So Sarvatra, as I said, is one of the leading banking fintech companies. Every bank has got two core technologies. One is the core banking solution, or CBS, where all
Correct.
the branches computers connect. And other is called EFT switch, where your ATMs, POS terminals, your mobile apps, they connect. So we are the leaders in the switching side. And whether it's Google Pay or WhatsApp Pay, or you go to a debit card of a small bank somewhere in Rajasthan, all of them use Sarvatra platform. So one of the biggest challenge for us in this COVID times is that we do remote. We are a platform as a service. So we have cooperative banks and small finance banks and large banks across 27 states and 3 union territories, all
Okay.
hosted and run remotely in our platform. And then suddenly, when I had to take my 300 people remote, where we managed so many different sections of the banks, it was a huge challenge for us. Luckily for us, we kind of predicted that something crazy can happen because I was observing what was happening in Europe. So, being a banking platform, I had to be doubly sure. So, I took the entire company remote for
Nice.
15 days before actually it happened, just to
Well
do
done.
trials. And luckily, we got the laptops in place and everything in place, and the real lockdown happened. So luckily we were ready for it, but because we are running so many banks, we had to be more secure and do more than required. And the banks now thank us because none of their employees could go to the branches, yet the banks continued in this whole COVID
Well
times.
said. Well
And
said.
another big challenge was when suddenly all the labor from the urban cities went into their hometowns. They had nowhere, they didn't have debit cards, but they wanted to withdraw cash. So
Yes.
we operated micro ATMs across
Very
our
good.
bank branches, and close to 10 crore withdrawals happened in those 2 months of like lockdown. And
That's
now
phenomenal
suddenly,
service. You helped all the blue collar workers. Well
so
done.
not only the banks are remote with us, and then we had to go remote. And
Mm.
then the next step during COVID times was we had to help the bank employees go with terminals to the homes of the customers. So many of the customers could not travel to the bank or even to the ATMs. Then we had to provide terminals in cars, which the bank employees went with cash door to door and went from society to society, giving them cash withdrawal facilities. So it was
No,
an
it's fantastic.
absolutely amazing times, and really providing this to rural areas was what we achieved in a very big
Okay.
way.
Okay. Well said. Well said. And Anand, over to you. Pay nearby, like the name suggests. I can use the Kirana store as my micro ATM and also make withdrawals, right?
And you can now ask your retailer to give you 2 kilo aloo, 1 kilo pyaj, or 500 rupiah cash. So that's what we do with 500,000 retailers, Vishal, and serving 120 million citizens. We also are a connector because we believe in the survival of the retailer in his business so that he
Okay.
can do our business. And as a pilot, we have integrated Amazon to start selling a football at a Kirana store or at a fertilizer store. And the pilot has picked up amazing. Just in about 2 hours, we had from one district 15,000 retailers applying to participate. And if what I have heard of all our friends on the panel, we can connect all of them onto the platform
Yeah.
and allow
That's amazing.
massive distribution.
I'm going to make this happen by connecting you all on email together, right? And we
Thank you
should
so
do
much.
this. And even Mandar, you should connect with all the SMEs. And thanks to Lenovo and Intel, right? This is amazing. And I'm glad you brought it up. I think the core of everything is to collaborate. And that's what this remote working is all about. Ashish, you would appreciate what these guys would have said. And this is like the new normal and reality where everybody wants, I mean, we would have never known each other if it was a 3-member panel or 2-member panel. I was just saying this has been wonderful, and Anand, takes the cake for this, right? It's amazing. Well said. We have to stitch you all together.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I think COVID has definitely changed a lot. When we look at the entire thing on how last 7 months have panned out, it's amazing, and it's also about the spirit of everyone on this call, all the business owners, all the entrepreneurs, on how we have kept things running, and not only running. I think earlier it was about surviving. Good to see that everyone is now talking about how we can thrive in today's situation, and we have seen that move firsthand in Lenovo per se, with our customers, with our suppliers. We have seen things change a lot, and people who have been at the forefront of this technology, like Mandar was just explaining, they have had it easier than maybe others who were not so technology upfront. But one of the things which I have taken from this pandemic is whatever we have invested, because normally technology is seen as as an expense in a business, but the right way is to see it as an investment, because it can help you actually take down a lot of other costs. Cost of travel, like Vishal, you said, we all of us won't have been on this call, or we wouldn't have had time to travel and maybe meet in a room. So, and see how much of cost all of us would have saved.
Yeah, that's
This
true.
way. Similarly, second, real estate. If people can work from home, you save so much on real estate in long term. So I think these are the times which have also opened our minds and thoughts on what else can be achieved in a different way. Because work from home, particularly, is something which was always a cultural mindset issue, particularly in India, because it was more about you see a person, you network with them, and then you do. And now I'm seeing people increasingly become comfortable with this entire work from home, and I think that's a big part, culture change also, which has happened.
While this remote working is happening, right? I mean, from a Lenovo's perspective, and you work with SMBs, you're not just a device company. So I'd like to know what solutions you provided to SMBs during the COVID, and even before that, you must have provided remote working solutions, also security, optimizing, optimizing a lot of technology for the SMBs, right?
Absolutely, Vishal. When we look at it, earlier, before COVID, we were trying to put a lot of solution, and there was always this resistance, particularly from SMBs, that hey, why do we need this? Maybe this is something which is needed by a large enterprise or a very large enterprise. But suddenly SMBs have realized the role technology can play in their evolution. And I'm not saying it's true for everyone. We have small SMBs, and we have people who are technology forward, like people on this call per se. But suddenly businesses have realized that if you play with technology on the front foot, you can achieve a lot. And what we do offer is not only a device, like you said, Vishal, we actually offer the full lifecycle management solution. Laptop, we provide that. Not only when we talk about the device, how do we deploy the device, how do we configure it, how do we make sure that it becomes a plug and play, so that as SMBs you can focus on your core business, while you can source the IT to us. We can do consultancy on what might be the right device for person on your shop floor, for your sales guy, for somebody who's doing maybe the designing, which is there. Similarly, we provide device as a solution, because one of the things which SMBs, and these are tough times, right? All of us have to accept that the cash flow is not as good as what it was maybe before. So we started providing device as a service, where you pay on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, which is there, and you sign up a lease with us. So there are various solutions, and along with Intel, we help provide even the security solutions. Like again, Mandar was speaking about that he is working with banks. How do you make sure that the device which you have is secure enough? Which is there. So we do work with Intel and our other partners to make sure that we are providing the right technology across the board. And what people have also realized during this is, what do you do with devices after maybe 3 or 4 years? Because it's not easy, right? You can't just keep on putting them in a storeroom and suddenly you realize one day that it's entirely filled up. So how do you make it? So we provide asset recovery services and all that stuff. So it has been quite exciting. And the good part is SMBs have started making use of these solutions, which is very interesting. And in fact, George and I was just talking about, we see this actually change for good, and we see this change continuing for some time to come.
Okay, great. George, you're the director of global accounts, the Lenovo business itself, right? And you understand different markets in Asia. What do you see with SMBs? When you look at SMBs, what are some of the pressing concerns for them, especially when it comes to remote working environment? What's going on?
I mean, as we started this, right, the first thing that we saw was a huge spike in demand from an Intel perspective. And I'm so enthused and feel so good about listening to all the success stories in the middle of this crisis, we are looking at success stories from every part of the SMB world. And so the first thing was availability. But if you go beyond that, right, once you have a PC, so technology became again fashionable, right? Earlier it was getting pushed to the side, you're just going after business. But then now what this pandemic has done is that it's put technology at the center of everything, which is good because that's how you then go to the next level. But then if we look at, take that apart and then, keep that aside, your question was, what are the challenges, right? I think the two things that we think our customers, especially in the small and medium businesses, are looking for is productivity. And, all our panelists talked about it, how to get more done. And two is security. For someone like Mandar, again, like Ashish was
I think
not core to the business, right? Security is what is core. So having technologies and having that assurance that A, you're getting the most out of the technology investments you're doing, and two, you're building a secure system to be able to do this, I think were the two most important things that we were trying to address. And the good thing is, look, we are ready, right? It is not something we have to rediscover. As long as you don't look at the here and now, but look at the long term and look at the right kind of technology investments to be made, I think you have both of those covered.
Okay. George, will these SMBs also ask for some kind of hyper personalization when it comes to remote working? Will they, all the offerings that you said, can it be hyper customized today? Because everything is delivered remotely also.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's where, the service concept comes into play.
Yeah.
And Lenovo is at the forefront of it, where you're trying to customize solutions at many different levels. And so it's just not in the product offering. So if you go to, the Lenovo products, so just take the Intel products, you have something which is an entry level going right up to, the highest class of processors. That's the basic, customization that you can do. The second customization that you can do is at a platform level, where you say, okay, I want a basic platform that is not going to be used in a secure, that doesn't need the high level of security. And you can do a good, better, best in that, right? And so you can have a basic platform and go right up to a vPro platform that gives you manageability and security, right? Today, for example, Vishal, if your your employees, and we talked about people here in this room that have hundreds of employees, right? If you have hundreds of employees and you want to apply a patch, right, a latest security patch that has come from Microsoft, how do you do it, right? Because you cannot go from place to place because all your people are in different places. That's where you require a manageability platform, something like vPro. So you can have differentiation there. And then Ashish talked about it, right? You can have service level deliveries, which are differentiated. And that's possible today.
Okay, George, moving on to the SMEs per se, I want to talk to the brands here, starting off again with Deep. Deep, I mean, what does technology really mean to you? I'm sure that if you're white labeling for other manufacturers and you have your own brand, you have some level of technology. But what would be the impediments to tech adoption for SMEs in this country, if at all? Also, give us your technology strategy in detail. This question's over to Yashas, Siddharth, and Pankaj also. Please go on, Deep.
Yeah, sure. So I think compared to the other panelists, I think for me, it's a very traditional business of manufacturing, and it's got a legacy behind it. So it is. I think the biggest challenge is obviously transitioning from something which you've not done in terms of technology, right? So we have a very lack of a better word, old school way of running the factory, and the whole technology adoption is a little challenging. And what I think actually what's happened over the last 6 months is that has fast tracked in such a way that it would have not, what we've been able to do in this last 6 months, we would have not done for 2 years, maybe.
I'm saying you have an ERP and probably a CRM. You do have those.
We have the ERP, we have the CRM, we have got the basic business intelligence stuff which come on in terms of your technology. I think the bigger opportunity for manufacturing companies is how do you use technology and data to improve productivity, right? And that's something which traditionally would still happen on an Excel spreadsheet, which today is looking and then obviously later on CRM and your ERP BIs come in. But I think what's happened right now is everybody, whether it's your supplier, your manufacturer, your customer, everybody is integrating to do the same thing now. So earlier you would have a lot of suppliers who were not on this platform, right? Who would still send you like everything as something as basic as your invoice would be generated in a very manual process. So that fast track which has happened is quite encouraging.
Okay, and so you are changing. You're saying you are changing. You're exploring partnerships with tech companies.
Yeah.
That includes what? FinTech as a stack, CRM as a stack. What I mean, you're looking for a full integrated stack that Lenovo brings in. What are you looking for?
So we're looking at them, and to be honest, one step at a time. So yes, CRM as a stack, fintech not so much yet, but I would say definitely CRM, data analytic tools. We've been using Tableau a lot internally, which was something we were not using 7 months ago. And we're building on that.
Okay, great, Deep. That's fantastic. Yash, coming down to Yash's, right? Yash's, I'm so sure you're a online first brand, right? For you, all these, you don't look at all these, you look at technology differently, right? Go on, please throw some light, please.
Yeah, so I think I think technology has sort of been the backbone of our business from the get-go, right? So COVID really didn't change much of that. So we were on Shopify, we were integrated with all the logistics providers, we had all the payment gateway providers. So it was already a digital stack that we just had to plug in and play. Where technology really has sort of come into use for us now is sort of limiting the physical exposure that we had, and that's primarily due to the supply chain. So we did all our quality checks in person. So one of our team members would go into the factory, which was outside of India, and then examine each sort of product, right? What's interesting is now we're working with a quality sort of assurance company, and what they've built, so they've collected tons of data in terms of pictures, right, over the course of their operations. So they have pictures of handbags or shoes or clothes with damages pointed out to them. So they're trying to build a machine learning model to identify these things through imagery, which is a very, very sort of interesting solution for companies like us that can't go and examine or can't conduct a QC at our own sort of thing. And when you can't have a person go and examine products as well. So that's something that's been very useful. We haven't sort of gone ahead with it as yet because our stock hasn't been produced, but we will be going ahead with that. It'll be interesting to see the results. So that's why technology has sort of helped us. But apart from that, everything else has always been sort of fundamental to our business. So be it Shopify or logistics or Google Suite plus work management apps like Trello. So that's already been part of our DNA from the beginning. The only thing from a team management perspective was to get people across functions to onboard themselves onto Google Suite and Trello. And this is not only just the packaging boys or the operations executives, but also our marketing team that works with influencers, etc. So it was important to get the team sort of integrated as well.
It's like you've built a brand and the tech parallelly. So you're more of an API integration company. So you require more partners. You'll open up your APIs, they integrate with you, right? That's what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, and how important are APIs? If you could tell our audience that, please.
So APIs are kind of crucial for our business, right? So everything, all the softwares need to talk to each other. And that's where the APIs sort of come in. And Shopify being the sort of backbone for this, every other software that plugs in needs to plug into Shopify via an API. And that's the only way it makes sense for us. Because all our all our inventory management, our logistics, our demand planning software all plugs into Shopify and uses that data to, sort of help us even more.
Okay. Okay. Great point. And Siddharth, moving on to your ecosystem includes farmers, the supply chain, obviously logistics, then branding, packaging, and then again the front end customer, right? So are you a mix of an API world and the legacy world? How are you looking at technology, and what are the impediments to tech adoption for you?
Typically for a company who's associated with farmers and products like food ingredients like pulses and spices, technology is in a way doesn't go along that way if you see it typically. And we were also using CRMs and few other software, but it was never a collaborative environment before. Of course, due to COVID, we had to switch to almost a paperless office in the last few months, and I think in the next few months, I think by January we'll be almost paperless. But the major change happened with few technology which we've been thinking for few years, and which is one of the most basic element in our trade, which is called as traceability, because a consumer wants to find out where the product actually came from, and that also developed the trust. Now we were thinking for a few years to go for a software which can trace back the product to the farmer. But of course, nothing happened. We never worked on it. Because of the COVID and because of the whole trust issue coming up now, we are switching to a platform wherein for every retail pack, we'll have a QR code. Anybody can scan it and they'll actually get to know where exactly it was grown. And because it is being made on blockchain technology, it cannot be changed. The data is cannot be counterfeited. So this whole change happened in the last few months, and the good part here is it is also very safe in terms of so if the product is being, say if it's placed in a shelf in New York, and if they scan it, they don't even have to touch the product. If they scan it, they'll actually get to know where it was grown. And say in case if it's a product recall, even before they consume, if they buy it, if they take it home, and before they consume it, and if there's a product recall after that, they'll actually get to know, because we'll be able to provide that kind of information.
Nice.
So this kind
so you're
of
focusing a lot on the front end, and you're building it in-house, all this?
Yes, so we're working with a technology partner, and the challenge is implementation. So we can implement at our end, but when you go to a farmer, it's very difficult. But thankfully, the data internet cost is very low now in India, very affordable. And farmers, most of them have some sort of smartphone. So we are working on the implementation on the farmer end. But this will, for how I see it as, it'll be more like a strategic move. This will give us the advantage in the market, because customer will have a very strong level of trust. So this is what I think we have realized. Technology was not being used as a strategic advantage. However, with this move, and the cost will definitely go down. And moreover, the key of our trade, we'll be the one who can actually guarantee that kind of information. So that's the change
so nice.
happened.
That's so nice. You're focusing on traceability, which SMBs, if they get into, they immediately go build a brand. So amazing. Well done. Well done. And moving on to Pankaj, right? Pankaj, you said you were a legacy manufacturer for 2 decades. You've gone D2C only for the last 4 years. What has been your tech journey in your family and in your company, and what changes have you been seeing in terms of tech adoption?
So being a traditional manufacturing company for the last 2 decades, and of course, as few of my fellow members has rightly highlighted, like we source honey. So we are sourcing honey from beekeepers. Again, it's agri product sourcing directly from beekeepers, very fragmented, very unorganized. And traceability for us is very important, because we are one of the largest exporter also. So most of the clients demand traceability of the farm. So we do track the traceability, but it has been done traditionally through a lot of paperwork and everything. Now, of course, with COVID and all these changes, and there is tech in the market which can help us improve the traceability and automate this whole function using blockchain and IoTs.
Nice.
So of course we are moving towards that direction. So basic tech like ERP, CRM, Salesforce automation, these things are already there in the system. And these things are helping us take better decisions. Like if I know what is my offtake in a specific retail outlet, I can take course correction, or I can implement a success story in the different market. So for that, I need to have real-time data, sales data from the outlet, which is very difficult. If you look at the Indian market, there are 1 crore general trade outlets across India, across the states. So you need to have that real-time data, and every day we are evolving. So last year we implemented this sales automation data. Now we are thinking of implementing blockchain and IoTs to improve the traceability from farm to fork concept, what we typically pitch to our customers. So yes, it has been a journey, and with COVID coming in, this whole thing is going to get very faster.
You know, just to bring in Ashish and George here before I go into the fintech players and the ad tech and the app providers and collaborative platforms, right? Ashish, this is very heartening, right? I mean, to see these manufacturers talk about blockchain, IoT, experience, traceability. You know, that these are something, George, you can butt in here too, because this is something that was never talked about 10 years back. You know, I mean, nobody wanted to even punt on these things, right? Ashish, over to you quickly.
Absolutely, Vishal. This is like music to ears, and absolutely the right way to go. And that's what I think we are all saying, that if we stop looking at technology as an expense, but look at it as an investment, like we do in other parts of business, we would find that technology has a very big role to play in each and every part of our business. And some of them are great examples, like traceability. Is a great example. It builds your brand, it builds customer confidence. It actually lowers your cost also, because you know what kind of inventory is lying, where it is lying. And these are like very good steps. And one of the things we do encourage SMBs to always look at and say, hey, technology is not only a large organization or a very large organization's play. Like George was saying, if you adopt technology from beginning itself, the life becomes easier, because we have actually seen a lot of big companies struggle because they have not adopted technology, and suddenly it's a big change for them, and then it becomes an expense because you're first catching up and then you're trying to. So I think we are in absolutely right direction here. George,
Nice. And George, over to you, please.
Yeah, so I mean, I was when Yashas was talking about it, Siddharth, and even Pankaj, the whole, one is using AI, and so we typically think of AI as being, on something that we run on big servers, right? But it's not the case. So when Intel was thinking about this, I don't know if you've been following the news, but we come out with the latest 11th gen processors.
Yes.
And just to tell you, Yashas, we have in the processor itself, we have a Gaussian and neural accelerator chip now. So you can do inference, AI. You can run an AI inference logic using the current processor that you have inside one of these 11th gen machines. You don't have to run it off a server. So we're trying to get AI closer to the edge as much as possible. So technology, as you start looking at these, right? Siddharth talked about traceability, or even Pankaj talked about. You went from paper to putting it on Excel, and then you're putting it on some kind of a database now. But then once your database increases in size, then you've got to go mine it, because that data is a very rich source of business. Like Siddharth was saying, it's strategic. It's no longer something you do just to survive. And so as you try to make these as your strategic advantages, right, technology is going to keep pace with you. Right. Today you're doing it, you're just saying, okay, my farmer should have a smartphone, but tomorrow you'll have 5G. You'll have, different standards of Wi-Fi. The good thing is technology is 2 paces ahead of you. You just go and look for it and you'll find the right technology.
Okay, guys, for those of you watching live and wondering what has IoT and traceability got to do with remote working, guys, imagine Pankaj doesn't have to go to a farm and now, understand and go take a paper and say, okay, tick mark, Walmart sourcing from me. Okay, these are the points, or tick mark. You don't need all that. Traceability is solved remotely too. Same with Deep, right? He can understand what ingredients he needs for his skin science products, and it can all be done remotely. So going down to the fintech guys, right, who help SMBs. Mandar, I want to talk to you. You've been transforming digital payment solutions, and at the core of any brand, right, digital payments is very, it is necessary to them. You can't escape it. What type of SMBs are you working with, and at least from in the Rajasthan side where you're based, do you see a lot of digital adoption happen? Do you have clients in India who say, okay, let's go on a fintech platform, let's do UPI, let's make it easier for our customers. Also, the fact that because you serve small stores, right? Also, right? Many of these brands will eventually get into some form of distribution. They'll want to sell it in the millions of kiranas out there. So where does your company play a major role? Anand, you can also butt in here. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just giving an example of a small bank in Rajasthan using it. We are based in Pune, and all our banks are there in each state of India. So the biggest challenge which earlier we had was telling the banks of using the various features of different products. Now it's completely from push, it has become a pull. Banks themselves want to launch new products for their customers, and we have to give one single integrated platform, so it's like plug and play. As you have seen with what I was hearing the other panelists, is that suddenly they have realized that they can use digital technologies for various parts of their business. It's no longer only for automation or for reports or MIS. Suddenly they can get reports from farmers, they can get a QR code. Similarly, is happening on payments. Now payments is going to happen in such a way that every part of the business is going to require payments, and the banks stand at the core of providing that to their customers. So now each and every customer of the bank, whether it's a small corporate bank in Kerala or UP or Himachal Pradesh, to a very urban bank like ICICI Bank, everyone wants the latest features in those payments. It's no longer just limited to, okay, give me an UPI and that's it. Now in UPI, they want a recurring mandate. In UPI, they want to collect, they want to push payment, pull payment. They want to provide UPI for a small kirana to a large demand like a organization. So now the need of adopting the payment infrastructure has also evolved tremendously in last 6 months. So what I'm saying, it's just not only giving a few features and hoping that those features become popular. Now suddenly there is a demand by a small there's a woman led bank in Pune city, and suddenly they want the latest features of where we have provided a remote control for debit card, where a customer can activate or deactivate his debit card depending on the usage pattern. So this product we're trying to push for last 2 years. Now it's pull. Everyone wants the latest features. So that's the big change I am seeing, that it's no longer just a technology adoption. It's what more with technology you can do.
Okay, Mandar, quick thing with Pankaj, Siddharth, Yashas, and Deep, right? If they're selling, if they open up their APIs, right, to you, and the working capital cycle. Anyway, if all of these, these brands need cash, right? And banks are always, they don't have the data, they don't have credit history of SMBs anyway. You can create that for them, right, Mandar?
Exactly.
Yeah, I hope you go after it though. That's a good one. Anand, please head.
So I wanted to tell this that basic things are long lasting, and we have two formulas at our Pay Nearby. We say automate or eliminate.
Okay.
And stability before scale. And this defines the undue percentage of technology spend that we do at our on our platform, because where Mandar ends on the other side of banks, on the backside, we start on the other side of banks. So he powers the bank, we power the retailers. So with 500,000 retailers, what you said is absolutely right, Vishal, that loan can be provided to them. We have terabytes of data. And with the new infusion of the Amazon and the other partnerships that are coming on the platform, we have database of their sales. So what we did in the lockdown should be interesting to know, that we unleashed our feature called Buy Nearby. This we have been engineering for last 4 years, and it's a feature which gets added in my app as another feature which can allow a retailer to sell and procure digitally. And he is the platform now. On both sides, he is able to handle either a supply or a demand side. Now, that said, the traceability is relevant in fintech as well. None of our transaction goes without a lat long tagging. So we do lat-long tagging, geosensing, geofencing, and geotolerance. Because what you are offering is financial services to people, these 120 million people, and they don't tweet. They complain to the God directly. You have to be mindful. The $700 that they engage with us is probably not even your cab fare for dinner. So the amount of responsibility in this $700 million of monthly throughput, give or take dollar fluctuating, 5,000 crore every month is what we process on our platform. And these are sachets of transactions, which is what makes us command 32% of India's Aadhaar business. And Mandar rightly said, when the ATMs were down, what was up was Pratyakshame Pramanam. Your thumb was up. These were the 10 debit cards. A customer could walk to any of our digital Pradhan retail partner and say 2 kilo aloo, 1 kilo pyaj, and
Nice.
500 rupees cash.
You know, you should expand your horizons and help Pankaj, Yasha, Siddharth, and Deep. I'm sure they'll appreciate your business because eventually they'll go from D2C to omni-channel, right? Deep, do you think these technologies make sense to you as a founder of Sublime also?
Yeah, I think obviously it makes sense a lot more for Sublime.
To encourage, I would say we added 1 milligram now to start selling from our retailers' pharmacy products. We are integrating Udan, for example, next, allowing our retailers to procure. And what Deep and others will do is just an API connect away.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Deep, go on, you were saying.
No, I think it does make sense. And like Yashas was saying earlier, I think the whole plug and play and the ease with which platforms like Shopify and all allow you to integrate various things, it's really accelerating what we can do with across the board. Right?
Yeah, she was saying you were going to add something. Go on.
No, I was just going to say that it's a great feature to have, especially in terms of distribution, right? And in a digital first world, and again, like you said, with 5G sort of rolling out, more sort of people becoming connected or coming onto the internet, it's a great service to have for any sort of brand, and more so a lot more brands that cater to smaller markets as well. It'll be a great feature.
Okay, Siddharth, Pankaj, your thoughts on this, on the fintech part?
Well, yes, it'll give us an access to such a wide base of retailers. So I think this does make a lot of sense for us to switch. To
Ashish, we should do a private roundtable separately. Right? Pankaj, you were having, go on.
Yes, it is definitely going to help us. It's a fantastic platform. It is going to help us in various ways. One, in upscaling and reaching the right retailer, and also, of course, effectively managing the working capital and data cycles.
Okay, now moving on to the collaboration tools. Gaurang, you saw how these guys are talking, right? So they might have several apps, they may be talking to each other. There's a lot of teams, like Siddharth said, they have farmers, they have logistics guys, they have front-end manufacturing guys and, supply guys on the front end, right? Big teams and employees too, all of them have the same problem. How is the world of collaboration going to happen in this remote working place and seamlessly? We're not just talking Zoom here. We're talking about execution. Zoom is just, to understand, ideate basically, but to create and deliver, it's something else. So how are you guys going to help them?
It's an interesting survey that we did. Well, not so much of a survey, but we basically put together this information and we were like, okay, what's the one tool that everybody in this room and like people at their workplaces use, right? Like which is the most used platform, right? I don't know, in a business context, I'd love to do a survey here. Anyone want to hazard any guesses?
Ask everybody. Start from Deep if you want. Go on.
What's the most commonly used business tool in your workplace?
So on my manufacturing, it's obviously the whole ERP process, and at Sublime Life, it's I would say Tableau right now.
Okay, well, Yash, over to you.
I'd say we use, going basic communication, right? I'd say we use WhatsApp a lot within our sort of teams.
Nice.
That's the right answer, by the way. That's the right answer. Universally speaking, the most commonly used business tool in the workplace is not, ABC, X or solution by Flock or Microsoft or so on and so forth. It is WhatsApp right, universally. And that's been the case for many years now. Right?
Ashish, you should ask me and George also. We use PPTs a lot.
Okay, that's so interesting. No, I mean, guys, I wrote a story on Indian agriculture, and I was doing a survey of 100 farmers. They know WhatsApp, but they don't know Google, man. That is interesting. So, Gaurav, over to you.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that was interesting, right? And in the sense that you asked this question. I just want to respond to that, which was,
please.
How's the pandemic accelerated sort of SMB's adoption of these technologies? And the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, people do want to do things that are easy and that they make an impact, right? Like they want to use products and use kind of solutions that help them achieve the outcome. You've got this nice framework. I mean, many of you have heard of it. It's called the jobs to be done framework. And ultimately, the tool is only a conduit to achieve that. And so what we realized, especially in the Indian SMB space, is that you need the ease of WhatsApp, for example, to run your entire business, because that's what business runs on. But you want to connect them to all those kind of different systems and so on and so forth. And that was the missing link, right? So when, for example, you want to, as of today, when we communicate, we jump between communication. So we make a phone call and then we send, then we do a video conference, and then we move to a different platform or a different tool, pick up that file, send it to somebody, you email it. And then after that, you again pick up the phone and say, hey, I've sent you this file and, can you respond to it, and so on and so forth. And we realize that, between switching from context and communication doesn't make sense. So, our goal particularly at Flock is is basically to unify kind of communication and context, where basically all of your systems, be it ERP, be it CRM, be it all of those things, they are basically part of that same conversation and remain in context. And so I think that's been the big goal. And I think that's the thing, that's the place where SMBs see the most value, right? Like if you do something inefficiently, like a big company can potentially afford it. And SMB is short on capital and SMB is short on time. And they have more to prove. And so I think that's where we.
So what's the proposition that you guys, you can offer to these guys here?
Well, the propositions to try Flock. I mean, but beyond that, I think the idea is very simply that the idea is very simply to basically use these consider, like, the biggest thing here is the adoption curve. It's very easy to get somebody to try out a new ERP and start using it. I challenge everybody to get everybody off WhatsApp in one day, right? Like it's not going to happen. So those are the kinds of problems for companies like us to solve, which is to solve for that ease of use, to solve for adoption, to solve for how do you make it not just not just easy, but also desirable to use platforms which are secure, where your information stays within a space that's controlled by a company. But at the same time, you also basically have the ability to reach out. Like we the benchmark is if you're in a 10,000 people company and the CEO can talk to any employee within 1 second, right? Like that's the benchmark that we need to hit today to succeed.
What if people said I'm using Telegram?
Well, I mean, of course, I mean, that's the way that today a lot of folks do that, right? But even there, it's not a private space. It's not controlled by the company. You don't know where the data is going. Anybody could forward it anywhere. So you've got all sorts of challenges, but I think the value of the platform.
So would you advise all these guys here to do a multi-communication strategy, Telegram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and you'd stitch all this together for them?
No, it's actually quite the contrary.
Go on.
I mean, which is to pick a platform of choice. It's a buyer's market today. This is one of the hottest spaces of which is to find a solution where you can do most of your communication pretty easily, right? Like, which is within the company, you can reach anybody instantly. You can video conference, you can share files, you can view files, all of that stuff. And basically, when you create a space like that where you control the flow of information, you know that the information isn't going out, right? Like one of the biggest things we learned through the pandemic was when you let people access like core banking information on personal devices, or you let them access sales reports or revenue and all that information on personal devices, right? Like I'm sure everybody in this room had those fears that I'm putting all of this information out there. So the platforms like this basically solve for those kind of things.
So this is more for the internal audience and your employees and various stakeholders. That's fantastic.
But also your vendors, partners, contractors.
Okay.
So Gaurang, just one question from my side on WhatsApp. There is this limitation, right, of having some 300 or 400.
56.
I kid you not. WhatsApp that
256.
That limitation is potentially 20-30% of our GTM, simply because a lot of companies feel the pain there. right? Like, because if you
Okay.
think about it, right, like a lot of companies
Okay.
have, we spoke to a 10,000 person company, like a listed company in India, right? And their biggest pain point wasn't that my information isn't secure. It was that I can't have everybody on a single platform, right? And so, that's in many ways the source of the pain, but that is what prompts a lot of them to then look out for these platforms and say, you know what,
Okay.
there's so much more.
Okay. I'm quickly also curious about, all the brands here. Yashas, I mean, how do you handle your community? What platforms are they on? Is it the multi-social media platforms? And how do you integrate those communities?
Yeah, so our customer community is on Instagram primarily. For more internal, we're on Google Suite. So everything's shared on the drive and everything's sort of secure in that sense.
Okay. And Deep, what about you? For the external community?
Similar. Instagram's our largest part of the community. We also obviously do a bit of stuff on Facebook, but Instagram is the largest part. And then and again Google Suite internally, and I think and it all kind of there's a lot of customer care chat bots which we use through WhatsApp. So customers also engage with us through WhatsApp.
Okay, Siddharth, what about you?
Well, we use for B2C we use Instagram and WhatsApp, and for B2B we use a lot on LinkedIn.
Okay,
we're quite active on LinkedIn, and Google Suite is the main platform we use internally. That's more like our ERP in a way, the way it is working now. Yeah.
Nice. Pankaj, what about you?
For us, it's Facebook and Instagram for customers, and for internal, it's Google Suite. What we use.
Okay, great. Anand, Mandar, quickly before I go to Logesh, right? WhatsApp is coming. Our banks, banks can win lots of customers to WhatsApp actually if WhatsApp opens up its fintech platform. So what are your quick thoughts on that? Because that's also got to do with remote working actually. So remote access to sales guys, everything, right?
So on the tech stack front,
go on, Anand.
Our tech teams use Flock a lot. On consumer front and retailer front, 500,000 retailers that we cater through. We use in-app communication, multilingual and customized banners to each of the retailers. And the rest of the sales organization is on WhatsApp, and there are small groups built as a hierarchy. So 256 is not a challenge as of now. Regarding your question on opening up WhatsApp to business, be mindful of the fact that 400 million WhatsApp users and still only 100 million using UPI. What is broken in the 300 million is to be seen and observed. Mandar did mention briefly about the debit cards not being in action. 115 million debit cards were out of use from November 2019 onwards, when the chip and pin guidelines got activated, and these were put out of use. Those 115 million of the 300 million are not able to use UPI very clearly. The other overlapping Venn diagram of users have not gone and updated their mobile number in the bank. So either taking the horse to water or bringing water to horse, what is easier is taking water to horse, and which is what we are doing. So with our neo banking approach at a Kirana Dukan, you can now open a 25 rupee ka FD with a retailer, and you don't need a separate bank account or go and stitch your mobile number to a bank account. So we are rebanking India, recarding India through our endeavor that we are doing. So it does not bother that it may sound a little offbeat, but har kisi ke haath mein nariyal shobha nahi deta. So just because you have a WhatsApp or a smartphone, it can be used alternatively as well.
Right, Mandar, go on. You'd agree with that?
Yeah. So we started off with open source platforms for collaboration internally, and nowadays we are only using Teams because Teams gives us the ability to not only collaborate but also share screens and do so many things. Started off with few of the Google platforms, but as we grew in size and complexity and security, we shifted to Teams, and we keep on exploring new platforms continuously. And on the WhatsApp Pay, I'm happy to tell you guys that Sarvatru has provided a UPI platform for WhatsApp Pay, and I've been using WhatsApp Pay for more than a year now.
What
because
is
it
it
was
on?
available.
Is it on closed beta?
It's a closed beta right now.
Okay,
And of course, we
interesting.
get three of the major platforms using Sarvatra initially, which was Paytm, UPI, Google Pay, as well as WhatsApp Pay. So I've seen the experience of collaborating with all these three companies and seeing
Nice.
how beautifully these three companies' tech sites are. Also,
Mm-hmm.
we do work with MePay
Mm-hmm.
as well as Truecaller Pay.
Okay. Wow.
So even Truecaller Pay is using Sarvatra platform. So
Mm-hmm.
I have seen that these solutions are going to help different consumers connect with their SMBs, SMBs connect
Mm-hmm.
with their vendors,
That's true.
SMBs paying their uh, sales guys salaries who are out on the field, give incentives. And many times nowadays it's so easy. Like example, I was shifting some material last week from one flat to another flat, and
Mm.
it was so easy to pay with Google Pay, you know.
Okay.
So the different solutions are going to come for these SMBs. Different
Mm.
payment platforms are going to come for the SMBs, which is going to make life very simple for all of you. There are lots of new features being brought by RBI, but one
Mm-hmm.
of the pain points does remain, like you need a debit card to activate UPI and so many
Yeah.
things. You need a basic account. So but RBI is trying to find some solution or the other.
Mm.
And let me tell you that when we speak to governments across the world who come to India to study our UPI, we are way ahead of the world.
Yeah, we are way
So
ahead of the
all
world. Yeah.
SMBs should take full advantage of all different payment platforms. Before
Mm.
you guys decide on a payment platform, you should actually see different payment platforms in action,
Okay.
and you should always have that you will give multiple choices to your customers. That's
Okay.
very important because not
Okay.
everyone will go to a single platform. So
That's
you
good.
should be able to easily adopt. And what Anand
Yeah.
and all are doing at Payoneer is also
Mm.
fantastic work, because they're
Mm-hmm.
creating, they're plugging the payment gaps,
Yeah.
across India in a very different way while enabling e-commerce. So all of you should use
Okay.
something like Payoneer also.
Okay.
So I think all around, and I'm here, all your panelists, I think they're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. Now this is where Logesh comes in. Okay, you'll need him because we talked about fintech, we talked about collaboration, we talked about a lot of data being exchanged on different platforms. Logesh, that's where cybersecurity becomes very important, and you offer solutions to stitch all this together, right? And okay, just take a couple of minutes to explain typical SMB life cycle in technology. How have they worked with you, including D2C brands, if you worked with any or anything like Deep's company, Yash's company, or Sid's, or even Pankaj's, right? You tell us what is the life cycle and what are the security measures that you would implement. Where's the future heading? Because everything seems to be connected in one super app. I can be using, I mean, I'm glad that I'm in India because it's not just one thing dominating, right? There's so many
Yes,
people in
yes.
this game, which is a good thing. Go on.
Yes, Vishal. See, predominantly in today's world, majority of the SMEs are seeing Excel or spreadsheet as an ERP.
Yes.
To be very frank, right? So when see, it's because simple to use and they know how to use. Like
Yeah.
you are mentioning, right? So WhatsApp, people knows WhatsApp and people doesn't know what Google is all about. So that's a key, right? So making them use and making them like it. So with Excel, they can change the shape, they can key in, they can play around, and they can get what they need. And the interesting fact is also like 10 to 15% of the people are only using the data they have collected. Predominantly, the data collected is just used for the statutory purposes and not for the decision-making
Okay.
purposes. Predominantly, like 15%. I'm happy to hear like people are using Tableau, but very few, right? So this is, see, we are in a very, so I would say this panelists are all coming from a sophisticated environment where we were able to access all these technology tools. But pretty much 80% of the SMEs in India have less access to these tools because of the plain reason awareness. I don't know how to use it, or I don't know whether it is this simple. People are really surprised when you give a solution like what Gaurav is bringing in and say them like it's as simple as this. You just do a click on, you'll be able to communicate to each other, or UPI, right? So when UPI came into picture, people are very reluctant. Now and one good thing is like once people know that this is a simple process in place, easy to adapt, right? So that is one good thing in India. So education plays a major role in bringing in these changes. And thanks to COVID, like COVID is a predominantly teacher to majority of the SMBs out there, and they're learning because of the COVID. Their mobility constraints, they had this business execution constraints they had. So because
give
of
us an
all
example of a customer that you employ, because that makes sense to our SMB guys and the fintech
exactly.
guys here also, please.
So we have a caterer in Coimbatore who used to do a e-commerce sale, and he does retail outlets, and he also has a corporate orders. So he goes delivers to these corporates. Predominantly, he's making 10,000 meals a day.
Wow.
He's making 10,000 meals a day, and he's having like 5,000 invoice purchases, procurements happening per month, right? But he's having solutions just disconnected. See, if you ask them, like, are you sure that you're paying whatever you pay is correct and you're not double paying or any invoices or the correctness to this are correct? The answer is no. They rely on people, not on technology. So what technology is bringing in is like to help the people to articulate the story, right? So there is no value. The trust is on the people now, right? But to an extent, availability of such trustable people are fading out, and even access to this skilled people for the SMEs is fading out. See, when you move on to the tier 3 cities, see, getting access to this is stuff. I have a customer. I had an instance. I was asked by an user of the system that, sir, I was using a different monitor, and I replaced someone replaced my monitor, and my will I be able to bring my icons in the monitor because I have just moved my monitor, and he's an MBA graduate. He is not even aware that yeah. So here the degree is not directly related to the literacy, right? So awareness plays a major role, and we are living in that place. And pretty much people are collecting data just for statutory compliances.
Okay, how do the SMBs handle remote working? In your case, that you're working with several of them, so.
Yeah, so now people are exploring, right? So as I mentioned, like, so even this caterer, now they have implemented a full stack solution, and the owner never visited the factory like in the past 3 months now. He's able to run his, and Effitrack is a solution where it lives coexists with the existing technologies. They use financial accounting for Tally, and they use a procurement Effitrack and inventory in Effitrack and e-commerce in Effitrack. And Effitrack gives a Tableau dashboard which connects the data from Tally and Effitrack and gives them the actionable data. So now what we are making sure is like even a business owners without having understanding on what technology is all about, what Tableau is, what Effitrack is, or what Google is, we're giving them the data. And this data can be accessed via mobility solutions. So this is what we are trying to do. And what we are trying to do with SaaS solutions is like, we are reducing the risk of they implementing all this in their own servers. See, if I'm implementing all this in my server, then I need to bring in all security process in place, right? Which people are not even aware of how to use it. Then think about the security stuff, right? They're definitely not aware of all this.
Yeah, I want to quickly ask our SMBs here. Yashas, have you implemented any security protocols in your company?
No, not per se.
Okay. Yeah. Deep, you?
No.
No? Siddharth?
No.
No? Pankaj, you? Man, why is that? I want to know. I mean, your data can be stolen. So I'm wondering, you guys are well protected. How do you?
So basic protocols are there, but not a very advanced in compared to any larger MNCs what they're following.
Yeah. So Vishal, that's also just butting in here, but that's also really hard to do, by the way, right? Which is that, you know, if you've got everybody on their phones, you're sharing so much, getting so much.
We're all remote. So even the sales are remote. Your manufacturing is also remote now. So yeah.
So that is because like there's a trust in play, right? So people are not relying on technology. People are relying on people.
Yeah,
so
and so
that's a fact, right?
And so that's a solution that doesn't always scale. I mean, this was a problem that we had. Like we were also.
I agree, Gaurav. So that's the exact reason why we are here today. So we are here to educate people.
So how do you, when you educate, it's not like implementing another app saying you put this app, there'll be security. No. It's a different approach that you have.
It's not like that. So what we have done is like, see, when it comes to SME, last mile delivery is always a critical Vishal. Say like a remote doesn't work well because people need to see, our SME owners need to see people and get information from them, right? So what we have done is like we have leveraged partners across, and these partners are our last mile delivery people, where they got spread across, and we have a good network of people out there now. They either physically visit or they predominantly would be next door guys who are going to assist them. So these SMEs are going to work with people whom they're familiar with. But end of the day, every truck is going to deliver such technologies, but they're going to live with them. One second, now we are offering public solutions with secure data with separate DB instance, database instance. So which means like, so Deep or Siddharth or Yash can be assured that the data is not stolen and the data is kept separately in a separate server altogether, even though it's a public instance.
Okay, interesting.
So by doing so, we are making sure that the data is secured. We are giving the comfort zone to the SMEs. Second, we are taking the responsibility of maintaining the data and to an extent security, right? So once you move data out of them and keep it in a separate secured place, half the thing is taken care of. So now the exposure is only on the user front. How robust your security processes is, right? So I'm working also with companies like Godrej, Noon.com. Recently, we have implemented at Noon.com. If you see the communication with these kind of companies, they're very matured, and they wanted one sign-on, single sign-on. So that I will make sure that when an employee leaves me, I'll be able to block the data. I'll be able to control the data access, right? But what kind of actions we take in our companies, technically no, or in SME's life. And with the history or with a lot of surveys, we found that employees are the greatest threat for any data loss. See, no external guys come into play. And
you're right. A lot of the D2C brands tell me that they have a sales guy working with them. He takes the entire, when he leaves the company, he takes the entire data that side. It is true.
And pretty much, see, that's how even SMEs grow, right? I mean, today I would be a manager in a company. Tomorrow I might be an SME owner, because I know the entire ethos and the do's and don't do's of a company now. So I should be able to replicate that story.
Okay. Okay. Great.
So that kind of a culture is what we have here.
Great. Anand, who's Gaurang? You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of just quickly, add my 2 cents for, the next sort of 10 to 15 seconds as well, right? Like the challenge around sort of security is twofold. I mean, big companies are able to use things like deploy things like MDMs, right? Like mobile device management systems. I mean, I know Ashish, I'm 100% sure is going to be very familiar, right? Where you can remotely manage all these devices. The biggest thing is that they're super costly from sort of an SMB perspective. So the way that we've kind of solved for this is also, I mean, it's not 100% foolproof, but in the sense that, you can do things like if you adopt a platform like Flock, and we've done this kind of ahead of other solutions from Microsoft and so on and so forth, which is that at the very least, you can give people, for example, the ability to, let's say, view content on their mobile devices, but then potentially not export it outside of that app. Or, you can't take a screenshot and things of that nature. And so, you can, as technology providers, also build in things which make it easier for kind of apps that you can download, etc., to become secure spaces and, do it via software, but without necessarily having to kind of invest in a bunch of software.
Okay. Great. Anand, Mandar, quickly on security. And
Vishal, it's not even a choice in our industry. PCI DSS is like hygiene. You brush your teeth and that's what we have to have it. Palladian VPT certifications every month, every deployment we have to go through. That's like daily puja. You have to do. You don't have a choice. So no, because the amount of data that we go through, process, and the million transactions, 2 million transactions a day that go, they have to go in a secured environment, because the military grade servers, the high availability that we have to, and of course the denial of service attacks, DDoS attacks that we ward off very often would not have been possible if we were not sure of security. Like I think someone said that in the beginning, if you put your technology in place, then it does not become a cost later. Security is similar, because those guys are much ahead of us. March is our target to fulfill our business target. It is their field day, because no one is focusing on security in March. And it's like a daily ritual. You have to be sure that everything is in a place and there is no untoward malware, the hardening of the laptops that our colleagues use so that no malware Trojan can be downloaded. That is important. the device binding that all my retail partners we enforce on them for their own security is essential, and that's what keeps us apart from competition.
Yeah. Mandar, in your case, I mean, security is very important, and I'm sure what percentage of your SMBs that you serve are really they understand security, or they just worried about the applications that they use?
So, as Anand said, in payment industry, PCI DSS means everything we do is encrypted, and nobody has access to any open data, like
Okay.
whether it's a debit card number or everything is encrypted, and that's compulsory. Without that, we cannot operate the system even for 5 seconds. So, where RBI comes and periodically checks us through their NPCI and other arms, and I think as these SMBs, most of our banks who are SMBs, by the way, so 600 of them small banks, and now we have 1,000 urban credit societies or credit unions who are also using some part of our platform. So
Yeah.
we ensure that they all are following a security guideline by making them adopt that. And now as we go into merchants, making merchants also sign security pledges and also training them how to not store customer data. Or many
Okay.
times in shops I've seen a customer comes, gives his card, the shopkeeper will ask, "Are pin number bol do." Such a simple thing, but and customers who are regular users, "हाँ मेरा pin ये है," as if it's something
Yeah.
phone number देने के जैसा है.
Yes.
But training the merchants and training the banks not to ask for such data is very important. Similarly, I think all SMBs should also follow the same process, that while you keep customer data, any payment data that your customer or vendor is asking you कि ये मेरा account number इधर transfer कर दो, that part of the data should be kept secured. So everyone should hire a PCI DSS consultant and ensure that you're not violating any rules. Like now there are strict rules when it comes to Aadhaar also, that you can't store Aadhaar data in open servers. So whether it's a small company or other, so security is very important. Other important aspect is going to be reconciliation. So because you are going to get payments and give payments from so many different sources, how do you recon? How do you raise chargebacks? Suppose you are to you send money to someone or you receive money from somewhere and you don't get the money. So it's no longer you are just the bank who is कि check मिला है या RTGS हुआ है या NEFT हुआ है.
Correct. Correct.
It's a combination of security and reconciliation products that one needs to have, and in banks we enforce it in a very big way. I think same thing will come into each part of every industry. Other important aspect which Anand also touched upon is that we have this DC-DR kind of thing. So if the main cloud goes down, we have to move to a DR in a quick way. And we do it as a regular practice. We have to have DR drills and everything. That is what everyone should now practice, because your entire life is online, and as a company you're online now. So you should always have backups, and it's not just security, it is also lifestyle management.
All the processes, all these processes, yes.
So like business lifestyle,
Anand, quickly say something, because in the interest of time, I have to get Ashish and George into.
To add to your point about the balance and training the SMEs, we don't have to. It is as simple. We are little tough in process. That's it. So there are easier to use platforms, but there are 2 steps more in our platform, and that takes care of security. So it's a trade-off between the user experience and the security part.
Nice. Bringing George and Ashish back into this conversation, this is fantastic insight for both of you, Ashish, George, and it's such a big learning for me. And I hope these guys collaborate together after this call. For me, it's about the processes they have to follow, the adoption that they have to. It's the founder's call on following up on these things, right? And it's so interesting that we're entering into the world of leasing, rental of IT hardware. It's in remote work. All these new models are cropping up. So quickly, what are your thoughts? Summing up this entire conversation between the both of you, what do you guys think? Ashish, I'll start with you, and George, you can have the final word.
So, Vishal, as I said, most of the conversation has been music to ears. I think seeing people so adapt at technology, seeing people appreciate how technology can help in business is just wonderful. And like you said, I think when we move from 2G to 3G and then 4G, we saw a lot of online first businesses come in. Uber, Amazon, Airbnbs of world won't have been what they are if it was not for, let's say, 4G, which is there. And I'm pretty sure when 5G comes in, we'll see a whole host of changes happen as well. And it's difficult to predict future. But my 2 cents in this would be that I would request all of you to keep your ears and eyes open on how things are changing, and make sure that you are abreast on technology, because that's the way forward. Whatever your business would be, like Deep was saying, it's traditional manufacturing, or in case of Yash, it is online first. I think whatever your business model, technology is bound to play a bigger and bigger role as we move forward, for sure.
George, over to you.
So, I mean, in one word, if I can sum it up, it's inspiring, right? The whole discussion today was extremely inspiring. And the biggest insight I got was the lack of focus on security. I thought it was going to be much higher. So I think Logesh and maybe Gaurang are in the best positions here to go and make use of the opportunity out there. And then, like at one end of the spectrum, you have Anand and Mandar, where security is, like Anand said, right? It's hygiene.
Very important. Yes.
And on the other end, you have where people are just waking up to it and just taking things for granted. So I think that was the biggest insight, and I think it's promise for the industry. It's promise for technology, and it's promise for all of us to bring technology to the center of our businesses and make our businesses grow. So all the best to all of you, and I'm really, really inspired. Thank you for putting this together.
I have to thank Lenovo and Intel for putting this together. Guys, we will get together after this. I'm going to write emails to all of you together. We have to stay together as a group. I promise you, I'll write individual stories of all of you. And thank you, Ashish, for bringing them together. George, thank you for that. Thank you, Gaurang, Yashar, Siddharth, Deep, Pankaj, Mandar, Anand. Have a great time. I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you so
Vishal.
much.
Thanks for being a wonderful host. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to hear
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
you all.